European federalism
is misunderstood in Europe, virtually unheard of in the United States, and yet federalism is the ideology that drives the European Union, and many EU federalists held and hold leading positions in EU institutions. Why do you think that with such a sophisticated and educated group of adherents to the ideology, which includes journalists, is European federalism misunderstood within the EU nations and virtually unheard of around the world?
It's an extremely good question, and I ask myself that a lot.
Okay.
I think that it's not quite fair to say that federalism has disappeared. It is there in the atmosphere still, and the British even, who seem to be especially opposed to the federal idea in the EU context, are responsible for promoting it in the empire, in the British Empire. After all, South Africa, Canada, Australia, India are all federations, and all of these places, Nigeria, all of these places were gifted federalism at the end of empire. But the Brits have not ever embraced it either internally in the UK, and as a result of that, the UK is experiencing huge tensions between the component nations. And despite the fact that the Brits were, and the Americans were, responsible for imposing a federal constitution on Germany after the war, the Brits have not ever thought of themselves as European federalists. That's a pity. But I still think that the logic of the EU, if you go right back to the end of the war, is, as you say, federalist. And what we have to do is to return to the spirit and the logic of the founding fathers of the EU. I think that can be done, but it needs clear thinking and courageous leadership. And unfortunately, we haven't an awful lot of all of those things at present.
Yes, and some of that will be